So the next session is promoting sustainable agriculture and improving soil health. For this, it is my absolute honor to call on stage our moderator, Hassaan Ghazali, is a sustainability expert with 20 years of experience in environmental law policy and finance across MENA and South Asia. A member of IUCN commissions, he advises governments and global agencies on sustainable agriculture, livestock system, food safety and innovation financing while publishing and speaking intentionally. So ladies and gentlemen, please give our moderator a huge round of applause, please. And now it's my absolute honor to call our panelists on stage with us. So the very first name is Francis Borges, Head Sustainable Value Chain Projects, Advanta Seeds. Tatiana Antonelli, Founder and Managing Director, Goumbook. Satyam 𝐾𝐚𝐳 Bose, Founder, Chairman and CEO. Umer Rabbani, Lead Agriculture Engineer, 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐵 Facility Management. Umer Rabbani, Lead Agriculture Engineer, 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐜 Facility Management. So it came twice in my script as it was written here. And the last name is Karlien, Muller, Founding Director, Auxano IPM Consulting. Please welcome them on stage.
Thank you, panelists. Please have a seat. Thank you. Thank you, distinguished guests and my esteemed panelists for coming to this session. This is one that's very near and dear to our heart, and I'm very pleased that we get the first session, so we have your attention. And I'd like to start by setting the scene about the whole agricultural space. To say that we are locked in a very bad cycle in the food systems. We have exploitation, followed by degradation, followed by abandonment, followed by recovery, and the cycle continues. Now, just by the time this day is over, about 300 square kilometers of land will be degraded. This panel is about 35 minutes. Within these 35 minutes, about 2 square kilometers of land will be degraded around the world. And there are various reasons for this. The amount of chemicals we spray. Our agricultural practices are not working. One thing I will say before I dive into the question, do not buy the efficiency debate. Do not buy the debate which says we need to be more productive. Since the 1960s, our water productivity, our labor productivity, and land productivity has increased. By 2050, we will need 70%, roughly, aggressive estimates, 70% more food than we do today. How are we going to get there? If we use the status quo, we are in trouble. So something's got to change, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to start with you, Umer. I've talked about agriculture as the business as usual. What does sustainable agriculture mean? Please unpack that for us.
First of all, I would like to thanks for the organizers, for the panelists, and thanks for your warm welcome, because they are the ones who are breaking down the barriers between the specialists, agriculture advisors, policymakers, farmers. Now going forward, today I can say that we are facing a lot of issues like global warming, climate change, and the main thing is our population in 2024 was increasing until 8.7 billion. And out of that, I can say that 3.43 billion people, they are directly linked with agriculture businesses. So many are farmers, so many are supply chain, all the things. But in that perspective, if we can say that what is sustainable agriculture right now, I can say that it is a critical necessity of the farming to produce the food which can fulfill the requirement of current generation as well as the future generation as well. So we are the generation which have to work for current generation and upcoming generation as well. So in UAE, or I can say particularly in the MENA region, 60% of the population is living on the water scarcity. And that 60% of the population, if we can compare to all over the world, it would be 30% of all over the world. So here in the MENA region or in Gulf countries, we have challenges like climate. So to overcome this climate, we have some other structure for the greenhouses, high-tech greenhouses, medium-tech, low-tech greenhouses, so we can overcome that to fulfill our sustainable agriculture. The second biggest issue here is we don't have much water or sweet water, so we are using water salinity or RO plant as well for this production system. So by inducing technology in a right way, not in a wrong, in a right way, we can play an important role in sustainable agriculture. So I must say here, don't go for the high tech, go for the right tech. So for going to the right tech, we can say that we can play an important role in sustainable agriculture.
Thank you, Umer. So, Satyam, just to move over to you, how would you define sustainable agriculture? Let's have your perspective. I understand you from India, you've done a lot of work over there.
Thanks, Hassaan. And thank you to the organizers who invited me over here to speak, and all the eminent panelists. So, how does, actually Umer has given a good segue into the sustainability discussion. And we at Virenxia are completely devoted to sustainability. The Virenxia word itself is a derivative from the Latin word being green. And we change the T into X, which is the X factor in being green and in sustainability. So sustainability is the existential foundation of Virenxia. Now, whilst we go to the sustainable agriculture, to define the sustainable agriculture, I would like to speak about sustainability first. It is a much used and abused word in today's world. So, simply put, sustainability to us would mean that how do we create processes to move into improved outcomes over time. To create processes for improved outcomes over time. So, shortly, if I have to explain that, that would be sustainability for us. And then coming to sustainable agriculture would mean that how do we bring that sustainability into agriculture? That we have predictable and consistent outcomes in agriculture. Today, the conventional agriculture has gone into a vicious cycle of diminishing returns. More and more the cost of cultivation is increasing, the yields are decreasing, the quality is decreasing, and the soil health is also getting worse. So how do we turn that into a virtuous cycle of predictable outcomes, and those predictable outcomes remain consistent over time? And therefore, the biggest challenge so we need to move to sustainable agriculture. And therefore, it is very, very critical for us to move to sustainable agriculture. And how do we transition from chemical agriculture to sustainable agriculture? The critical thing is that the synthetic chemical-based agriculture, the conventional agriculture, is no more giving the right answers to the challenges that we are facing today. And hence, we have to move into sustainable agriculture. But the farmers are facing a problem into transitioning because there are no right recipe for this transition. Because there are a lot of, it takes time to do this transition. It takes minimum 3 to 5 years for crop yields to settle and the outcomes to stabilize. Therefore, we need solutions that the farmer should not have any risk in this transition, because farmers cannot afford that transition period. And even when the transition is taking place into sustainable agriculture, it's generally seen that the yields are reducing. So therefore, the food security cannot be met. So we don't need incremental solutions. We need radical solutions for it.
So, Satyam, if I could ask, because you talked about and mentioned chemical use, how does that relate to soil health? Can you just explore that for us a little bit?
That's a good question. So, soil health and sustainable agriculture are interrelated, interdependent rather. Because the road to sustainable agriculture goes via good soil health. And therefore, we need to improve the soil health first to achieve sustainable agriculture. And that would mean that the soil structure, the aggregation of the soil, the improvement in the gastric chain and the capillary action of moisture, the microbial population, the beneficial microbial population in the soil, beneficial microbial population wherein the right proportion of beneficial fungi and the beneficial bacteria. And we need to have, and there is a golden ratio between the fungi and the bacterial population. And how do we increase this beneficial so that it kind of suppresses the pathogenic microbials in the soil? And we establish a very, very beautiful relationship between the crop and the soil. Because what we don't know in nature, the crop and the soil, they talk to each other. They have a communication, the signaling communication system between the soil and the crop. The crop gives, through root exudates, it's giving nutrients to the soil microbial population in the rhizosphere, wherein they also send out the signal that that is the nutrient that we require. And in turn, the microbial get into action, they get their food, they then they secrete those enzymes, and then they convert the compounds that are in a fixed compound into ionic nutrients that are then transported from the microbial hyphase and the capillary action of the water, the moisture, into the roots and up through xylem into each and every aspects of the crop for its different stages of growth, the vegetative growth, the reproductive growth, and all these growths.
Satyam, I think never has such technical information been put so beautifully. Thank you so much for that. I'd like to stay on this international perspective and how we look at soil health and move over to you, Karlien. How do you see, what's the South African perspective on soil health, and do you think stakeholders actually get it?
Morning everyone. So before I answer that question, I first want to get back to sustainable agriculture. And what exactly is the definition thereof? And you mentioned, yes, we must go from chemical and transition into more sustainable agriculture, which combines your biological, physical, and your chemical properties in the soil. So, fruit, you must reduce tree stress and so forth. But now, let's look at it from another perspective. Going also into quality. What is quality fruit or quality vegetables? Is it the same? The consumer has got one opinion and perspective. A perfect fruit, perfect color, perfect shape, perfect taste, that's quality fruit. Now look at it from a supermarket's point of view, and they also feel that the visual shows the quality of the fruit. But if you ask the grower, what is quality fruit? Then he will tell you that, listen, even with some weed blemishes or superficial pest diseases, just a bit of scratches, that is still quality fruit. Because if you cut it open on the inside, it's still perfect. Are you eating the skin? Why is it that image is selling? And that also contributes to the food security. And then also, the grower doesn't get the money like a class 1 fruit, which is perfect shape and size and everything. So now, when superficial pests and diseases enter the orchard, they spray immediately, especially for pests such as thrips, which causes superficial damage. That causes for the balance to shift from, okay, I can spray at an economical threshold before this damages my whole crop. But now going into, let's rather control it at a threshold. So then the grower will also reduce on its chemical usage and also be able to transition much easier into sustainable, which is a combination of biological, chemical and physical properties. So I just wanted to put that out there because I really feel strongly about this, and I think that each and every one of us has an obligation to assist the growers in this transitioning. But first we need to educate the consumers that there is still, that even with superficial blemishes, it's still quality fruit. Now coming back to the soil health in South Africa, is there's soil health, which is a concept of the soil status and the capacity and the potential that it can reach. But then you've got healthy soils, and those two are much different. So healthy soils is the already establishment of a functional ecosystem that is in balance, and that's what we want. Yes, soil health is a concept, and I think that some stakeholders like chemical companies, fertilizer companies, pack houses, export companies, and so forth, they don't really, it's easy for us to sit here and to say, no, we need to go into sustainable production. Okay, but do you really know what that entails? And the risk that the grower is taking with these food quality constraints, the export markets like Europe, which is forcing all of these audits onto the growers, but they don't really understand the practical implementation thereof and the sustainability of what they think is, let's say, soil health, quality, food security. So I think that is it summed up from my side.
Very good, thank you for that. We appreciate that sustainability can mean multiple things depending on which side of the fence you're standing on. I'd like to turn now to Tatiana. Tatiana, you've done a lot of work in sustainability. You've seen a lot of things. You've been around when it was just CSR, moved over to triple bottom line, sustainability, ESG, and now everyone uses the word regenerative. That is now where the world is headed. I understand you have an initiative called the MENA Regenerative Agriculture Program. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what that entails, please?
Yes, good morning everyone. So very quickly to give also my version of sustainability, which I think is important to mention. Within this whole talks about food security, we also need to include the social aspect. We've mentioned the farmers, we've mentioned human health. So that is an important aspect of sustainability, and it is related to food security. And the second one is prosperity, which is a financial aspect. We also need to give value to food. And sometimes I think the main problem is that there's a tendency to produce more at less, and this is where it's connected to the social aspect of farmers being really desperate and not making it, and telling their children, don't become a farmer, go and become an accountant or a lawyer. Don't become a farmer, because it's a very difficult life and there's no money to be made. And in the region, in the MENA region, we have an average population of farmers who are around 55 to 60 years old. What's going to happen in 10, 15 years when these farmers are gone? Food security is this. So who's going to produce the food? And sometimes we talk about technologies, that for sure the right technology is important, but many times this technology is not affordable, not accessible. And so this is another social problem. How can farmers become better? How can they see themselves as entrepreneurs that are actually going into business rather than just producing any food for a cheap price? So the idea of the regenerative agriculture program for MENA was really to look at our challenges. What are we facing today in the MENA region? So it's poor soil, it's high salinity, no water, and very, very difficult climate conditions. And this is why we need to work together to understand how we're going to support the food systems in the region. Good news is that we have solutions. And the region hosts incredible data, incredible wealth in terms of research and academia. Another social issue is that, unfortunately, our PhD students around the region, once they've studied the solution, the issue, the challenge, they put their beautiful document in the library. Nobody goes to them and says, okay, how can we take your solution and commercialize it? How can it go from the university stage, the research stage, to the Pepsi's, the Nestle's, the big producers of the world? So our focus is to work with all these researchers. We have created an accelerator, a program that lasts 9 months, where we take these shy researchers and we make them into ready-to-pitch people. So we mentor them, we also support them into understanding what is a business planning, what is accounting, what are the legal aspects of this, and how can they look into commercializing. So this program has been live now for 3 years. It's funded by HSBC and SAB, and in partnership with the European Institute and Innovation of Technology in Europe. The idea for Europe to come into this program is that Europe is facing very similar conditions in the south, so Spain, Italy, Greece. So there is here a great opportunity for the MENA region to become a seedbed of innovation for the rest of the world, and to look at how we've been doing things for centuries in the region. So we need to look back also at our cultures, our heritage, the way we've been doing and growing food 100 years ago, not so far ago. That was working. It was about soil enhancement, working with the seasons, working with animals, moving from the sea back to the mountains. And we need to really look at this as a wealth, not thinking we're going back, but this actually is going to help us move forward. And if we look at the solutions who won our program, we had winners from Saudi, from Morocco, from Egypt. There's a wealth and there's so much potential. But the challenge now is how we're going to convince the big entities to look into these small solutions, because when we look at financing this, the tickets are millions. Okay, we're ready, we have 100 million. No, we just need $100,000. And this is where there is a gap. So this is the call to action to the region, is how can we come together and support small solutions that can actually completely change our food security aspect.
Excellent, thank you for that detailed discussion on the initiative. I'm really pleased to see that it's backed by data and research, so thank you for sharing that with us. And because you've raised the social aspect, I'd like to just turn to Umer very quickly, Umer, because we are running short on time. what do you think are the biggest challenges that farmers are facing right now? And by farmers, I don't mean the corporate big boy, the small one.
Yeah, see, farmers in every region, they are suffering. So particularly if I will say that I work in MENA region more, especially Gulf countries, in start, before 2010 there was no particular industry for the farming, but after that now we can say that in UAE there is a full-fledged established agriculture industry. But the problem is until 2019 farmers were getting a good prices from the market, government was supporting, now still government are supporting, but they are not getting you can say that right technology. Everyone is coming here and they are seeing that if we will go for the vertical farming, I just give you an example that capex in vertical farming is much higher, and the prices which they are getting from the market, they are not, you can say, they cannot, this much capex and opex, they cannot get ROI in next 10 to 15 years. So this is the biggest challenge, that the technology prices and all the things are higher. And once we are going to sell in a market, as she mentioned, that consumer don't know about what is the exact quality of the produce. So they are just buying to look, if the color is okay, everything is okay. But being a grower or being an agriculturist, I must say here, we must have to teach the consumer as well, we must have to teach the farmer as well. And I have seen so many farmers that they are still growing the crops and farming for the techniques. They are not adopting new technology as well, like a drip irrigation system. I can say that we can save a lot of water from that. So the technology which can save our water, which can save our time, and ultimately we can get a good produce, good quality. So we have to adopt that things as well.
Very good. Thank you for that. So clearly a massive social angle, but I think technology is key. And with that, Francis, I'd like to turn to you. A little bird tells me you're doing something very interesting with sorghum. Can you enlighten us on that?
Yeah, thank you, Hassaan, for that. But before I answer your question, I just want to compliment Tatiana for what you are doing. Food security and sustainability starts with the farmer. And sometimes we forget, we talk about everything else, but not the farmer. And what is pointed out, will we have a farmer there to do farming 10, 15, 20 years? I think that's a very, very good point to raise. And talking about sorghum, we at Advanta is very proud to call Dubai, UAE as our home, where global headquarters is here. We are a global company working in over 80 countries with a number of crops that feed the population in a nutritious way in each of these 80 countries. But I want to talk specifically today about sorghum, because sorghum is a cornerstone of climate resilient sustainable agriculture, because it takes care of food, feed, and now a new topic that we talk about, fuel, right? Sorghum with its long deep root system secures soil structure, enhances organic matter, sequesters carbon into the soil, right? And produces grain, which is very nutritious, right? And the biomass that it generates could be then used to make ethanol or to do other fuels like compressed biogas. So sorghum is one sort of solution that, as crop, answers a lot of questions that we are raising today. It's also a low input crop, works in a water scarce environment at various temperature ranges, and so this is a solution that we want to offer to the world, and we've been successful in many countries, and we continue to bring further innovation, working on the new technology, in terms of genetics and germplasm improvement, to bring higher nutritional content and better biomass to the farmer.
Okay, that's clear. So, but tell me, are there any negative externalities like we saw with jatropha being planted everywhere with sorghum, and what are Advanta's priorities to move the needle on sorghum?
Well, I have yet to come against any negative on sorghum. So sorghum is a short duration crop between 100 days and 120 days. You have grain and full biomass, and sweet sorghum variety actually comes with a brick content of between 16 to 18%. This is what you can use to convert to bioethanol, but could also be made into a syrup that can be used for food purpose, right? It's also being used in many locations as a rotational crop, especially in places where they grow sugarcane. They could, after they harvested the sugarcane, they can plant sorghum as a rotational crop in that field to improve their soil structure and sequester more carbon, then to go again for the next succeeding crop. So those are some of the advantages of having sorghum. Not to forget, and I repeat again, it's low input crop and needs very little water for it to grow and be very productive.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. So, okay, so we've got this. We've got tons of other technologies out there. Tatiana, I'd just like to pick your brain on what are the barriers and what do we need to do to remove them? If we've got all this out there, what needs to be fixed?
Well, I think we went, all of us, through the topic of creating awareness and better understanding of what sustainable farming is, what consumers need to know, what farmers also should be doing, going back to maybe more traditional methodologies. There's a lot of capacity building that needs to be done. Finance, as I mentioned also, but also overall a better understanding of where we live today and what do we need for a healthy soil, and to see and understand that soil is not that, we call it dirt, and I think it's the worst thing we can use as a word to call soil. Soil is at the base of life, and as you were saying, it's very precious in terms of bacteria. It holds water when it's healthy. It gives the right nutrients. Today people don't understand that we have 57 harvests left of good, nutritious food. The soil is depleting, and that means that the organic matter inside the soil is becoming less and less. And that organic matter is what makes the fruits, the vegetables, everything with the right nutrient amount. So we might be eating a tomato, it looks great and round and perfectly red, but that tomato is empty. It doesn't carry any nutrients. We can eat hundreds of them. It means nothing. So this is a very important aspect for consumers, but also for the general environment around food systems. We need to understand that soil is fundamental for us to be healthy as a species and to continue. But also, there's an interesting element of soil, is that it's apart from solving a lot of the water issue we have in the region, as it holds water and retains water, but there is the carbon capture aspect, which is fantastic. And if we were able today to restore all the soils we are depleting around the world, we would solve climate change. Solve it. It's not about planting 100 million trees tomorrow. It's about making the soil healthy, because soil captures CO2. So imagine we just make healthier the soil we have better food, better health, and we have happy farmers, and we solve climate change. So when you know this, I feel it's a no-brainer. Why don't we work together to actually fix soil? And I think this is the starting point, understanding the importance of soil, what it gives to us, what it gives back to nature, and it's done. And then we need some funding, of course, to support more research, more R&D, as Ghazali was mentioning, which is fundamental. But at the end, we need really to mobilize the different stakeholders. So we need governments to really look into regulation, into policy, into helping farmers. We need to support the capacity building. We need to go into awareness with the consumers. Sometimes consumers complain, why do I need to pay this carrot more? Well, because that has been made differently, respecting people behind who are producing them, respecting the soil. So instead of complaining, they should understand that I'm not going to buy maybe 20 carrots and throw them, because we have another lingering problem here, which is food waste. we say we need 70% more food than what we produce today. It's wrong. We actually need to consume better and waste less. We waste too much. And that is linked again to another problem, again, climate change. All the food that goes to landfill is actually producing methane, and that's contributing to climate change. So as you see, everything here is linked, and it's all about behavior. It's linked to general awareness and back to consuming better, better quality, not more. More doesn't mean like it's better, wasting less. So it requires, as I said, government, policy, it requires civil society, but it requires also private sector. And I think the private sector doesn't have to be pointed as, oh, the big and large companies here are creating the problem. Not at all. There are sometimes the ones who are happy to look into solutions. They are the ones who sometimes fund the research and the solution. So again, another call to action to collaboration and working with all the different stakeholders together. And of course, also with the support of international organizations that are doing an incredible work around the world to bring the data to life. Another issue, I think, in the region is the lack of data. There is the data, but we're not sharing it. So this is where also more alliances between academia, universities, research centers to collaborate more on this data, and that would be really very useful. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tatiana. I think that's a very interesting point. Yeah, she deserves a clap for that. Let's give particularly for that a brief rendition of what the problem is, and I think we have much to reflect on, particularly 57 harvests left. I think let's all reflect on that as we perhaps enjoy our lunch later on in the day. So I think we're going to bring this session to a close. We are running slightly short on time, so I would like to go into a quick fire round, going down the line, starting with you, Francis. What is your one message to stakeholders in the agriculture sector?
Well, I want to say that all the things that we do in sustainability and food security has to be farmer-centric. All the sustainability metrics that we build up has to support farmers' ecosystem and his productivity and his income growth. If we don't take care of it, everything else will not matter.
Same question? Yes, so for me, as I said, really raise awareness about soil, the importance of a healthy soil.
Yeah, so completely resonate with Tatiana. And to Karlien, I would like to say that she brought up the issue of quality. I think we in Virenxia, we have made it very easy to transition from synthetic chemical-based agriculture to regenerative agriculture and sustainable agriculture with no risk at all, with no pain at all. From the first crop itself, you will get, with just four products, bioag products, we will maintain the same cost of, comparable cost of cultivation as for the conventional agriculture, and we will transition into sustainable agriculture in the first crop cycle itself and have higher yields, higher quality, higher shelf life, along with soil health improvement and sequestration of soil organic carbon.
I would say only one word, that right tech at the right time with the right person. This is the only solution for UE farming or agricultural farming.
Sure. Okay. I actually have too much to say, but one question: who of you that's here are farmers? Okay, so it's not quite a lot of you. Now to challenge you again on healthy soil, and also what is healthy soil? How do you measure that? How do you know when you reach healthy soil status? Did you know that actually, yes, you give your nutrients to your plants and your water and everything, but did you know that it needs to be in the correct balance? All the micro and macronutrients needs to be at the right balance in the soil for the tree to be taken up. But sometimes the nutrients nutrients are available or are in the soil, but it's not available for uptake. And the same is with the microorganisms. It might be there, but one population suppresses another one, and it brings a gap, and something else comes in. So to challenge you on your knowledge and education, and to understand what the farmer has to go through to move over from chemical to biological. And for me, it depends on which crop you are working with, which conditions, which climatic conditions. What is your markets? Do you have phytosanitary pests? Do you have MRL issues? Do you have weather conditions? It's not that easy just to switch from chemical to biological or to IPM or IPM. It's not that simple, because you need to take in all of the factors. The grower takes the risks of the environment, hail, frost, fires, drought, and within that he needs to manage the pests and diseases of certain phytosanitary issues. With that, he needs to maintain his labor status, and with all of the laws and legislations, with the quality standards, with the exporting standards. So he needs to take everything into consideration, and he needs to know when to use what solution. Knowledge is key, and I challenge you to grow your knowledge and to assist the growers with obtaining this knowledge, understanding it, and then be able to implement it.
Can I just button for a second?
Make it a very quick second,
Yeah,
because
sorry.
those guys are looking at me now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just taking from Karlien's thing that what is a good soil? Now, from the conventional method, what she said is absolutely, I agree with it. But we who follow regenerative and sustainable agriculture, we see the soil health differently. We see the soil health is the percentage of organic matter that is there in the soil, the percentage of organic carbon that is there in the soil. What is the soil structure of the soil? How is the gas exchange happening? How is the capillary action happening? How is the communication happening between the crop, the root exudate, and the microbial population? And for the quality part of it, there are 4 stages in our system, Virenxia system of agriculture. We see it as 4 stages in crop health. The first stage is to maximize the photosynthesis capability of the plant. Then the next stage is where the primary metabolites are getting synthesized, the carbs so the sugars are getting created, and thereafter the carbs and the proteins are getting created. If you still have energy remaining, you get into the protein, fats and lipids layer. And the last layer being secondary metabolites, which most of the chemical agriculture don't even reach the secondary metabolite levels. And that's why the organoleptic qualities of so the plant, the food, the crop might, the produce might look good and of a good size, but it will not have nutrition. It will have no nutrition density. It will not have flavor. It will not have taste of the original taste that the crop is supposed to have. So therefore, we in the sustainable agriculture, we look at it a little differently.
Thank you, Satyam. I'm feeling hungry now. Folks, thank you so much. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm round of applause for my esteemed panelists. Thank you, folks.